Put the mop down and step away from my briefcase. I'm not saying it twice. I don't care what uniform you're wearing, people. Like you come into this courthouse in chains. Not with keys. The words hit her harder than any shove could have. Maya Carter froze, fingers still dripping water into the thin gray mop bucket. Her brown eyes rose slowly to the man in the navy suit, his face red, his jaw tight. Assistant District Attorney Travis Cole stared at her like she'd crawled out of a sewer. He was standing at the counsel table, his leather briefcase open. The courtroom was mostly empty now. The jury had gone home. The judge had left. Just a few clerks shuffled papers in the back. The echo of his voice bounced off the wood-paneled walls. Maya glanced at the briefcase. It was 3 feet away from her. She hadn't touched it. "I didn't," she started. He stepped closer, pointing at her chest with his pen. "Save it, I saw you hovering. You think nobody notices you because you're pushing a mop?" He scoffed. "I know your type. Sticky fingers. Opportunity shows up, and you grab." Clerk laughed softly from the corner. Maya felt the heat rise in her face. Her uniform shirt was damp with sweat and cleaning chemicals. Her back ached from the 10-hour shift she'd been working since dawn. She had another 3 hours to go. Rent wasn't kind to single mothers. "I clean here, sir," she said quietly. "That's all I do." "I wasn't near your bag." Travis tilted his head, eyes scanning her from her worn sneakers to the frayed braid falling over her shoulder. And yet, he drawled. "My Rolex, the one I put right here on this table before closing arguments." He tapped the wood sharply. "Nowhere to be found." Maya blinked. "I never saw a watch." "Course you didn't," he smirked. "But I did see you. Standing right there, looking." His eyes narrowed. "Security." The word snapped through the air. Maya's stomach dropped. A heavy silence fell as Officer Reynolds, a tall white cop with a buzz cut, pushed the side door open and stepped in. "What's going on?" he asked, glancing between them. Travis pointed at Maya, voice rising. "My watch is gone. She was alone in here. Search her. I want my property back." Maya's breath hitched. "You can't just." Reynolds stepped toward her, hand resting on his belt. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to empty your pockets." Eyes had turned. The last few people in the room, the court reporter, the clerk, an intern gathering files, stopped and stared. They didn't say a word. Maya looked from Travis to the officer. Her heart hammered in her chest so loudly she could feel it in her teeth. "I didn't take anything," she whispered. Travis smiled, thin and cruel. "If you're innocent, you have nothing to hide. Wasn't that what they always said right before they crushed you?" Reynolds' tone hardened. "Pockets. Now." Maya swallowed. Her hands shook as she pulled out crumpled receipts, a bus pass, a small bottle of hand lotion. A folded index card slipped out and fluttered onto the floor. Reynolds stooped, picked it up, and glanced at the scribbled notes. "Fourth Amendment. Unreasonable searches and seizures," he read slowly. His brow furrowed. "What's this?" Maya's cheeks burned. "Nothing. Just study notes." Ashley laughed. "Study notes. For what exactly? The janitor's bar exam?" "I'm studying for the LSAT," she muttered, staring at the floor. The clerk in the corner snorted. "A janitor thinks she can be a lawyer? That's cute." Travis stepped even closer, so close she could smell his cologne. "You listen to me, Maya, right?" He looked at her name tag. "You will never stand on this side of the courtroom. You were hired to scrub the dirt off our floors, not pretend you understand the law." He glanced at Reynolds. "Cuff her. I want her held for questioning." Maya's head snapped up. "What?" "I told you. Didn't you match the security footage?" Travis cut in smoothly. "Dark uniform, black female, cleaning when everyone left. That's enough for probable cause." Her hands went cold. Security footage. How was she already on camera for something she didn't do? Reynolds pulled out the cuffs. "People like you come in chains, not with keys." The metal clicked around her wrists, harsh and final. The officer turned her around as the mop bucket tipped in dirty water spread across the polished floor. Nobody moved to help. No. One spoke for her. They just watched the black woman get led out of the courtroom she'd cleaned for 4 years like she was trash finally being taken out. As she walked past, Travis leaned in and whispered, "Enjoy the view." "Maya, it's the closest you'll ever get to being on this side of justice." He was wrong, but she didn't know that yet. Right then. All Maya knew was that the system she'd been dreaming of joining had just slammed its doors in her face again. The questions burned in her mind as she moved down the hallway, wrists bound, eyes stinging. How many times had this same hallway seen another black body pushed along, accused before they were heard? How many times had she mopped up tears that looked like hers? In the holding room, the fluorescent light hummed overhead. The walls smelled like old sweat and bleach. Reynolds took off the cuffs, but left the door open behind him, leaning against the frame. "You really studying law?" he asked casually. Maya rubbed her wrists. "Yes. Why?" His tone wasn't curious. It was mocking. "Because I got tired of cleaning up after everybody else's mess," she said quietly. "I'd rather stop the blood from spilling than mop it up." He scoffed but said nothing. Minutes crawled by. Maya sat on the cold metal bench, hugging herself. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. "Can I?" she asked. Reynolds hesitated, then nodded. "Just one call." Her hands shook as she pulled the phone out. A text from her 12-year-old son Malik stared up at her mom. "You almost home?" Coach said, "I played like an all-star today." Her chest tightened. She dialed her sister. "Sid," she whispered when the call connected. "Maya? It's late. Everything okay?" Maya blinked hard, fighting back tears. "Can you pick up Malik from practice? Please don't tell him anything. Just say I'm working late. What's going on?" "I'll explain later," Maya said, voice cracking. "Just please." Reynolds cleared his throat. "I gotta go," Maya whispered, ending the call. She stared at the blank wall in front of her. How do you fight a lie when the world already decided what you are? The door opened again. A younger man stepped in. Brown skin, tight curls, slightly crooked tie, a folder in his hand. He looked tired, but alive, like someone who had seen too much and still hadn't given up. He extended the folder toward her, Maya Carter. She nodded slowly. "I'm Jordan Hayes," he said. "Public defender." Maya let out a bitter laugh. "Of course I get a public defender." Jordan raised an eyebrow. "You say that like it's an insult?" "I say it like it means they already think I'm guilty." He studied her for a moment. "Do you want me to treat you like every other case they try to push through here, or like someone whose side I'm actually on?" She looked up sharp. "You believe me?" she asked. He sat on the bench across from her. "I haven't heard your story yet, but I saw the way Travis was talking about you in the hallway. Men like that don't get that loud unless they're scared of being wrong." Maya swallowed hard. The smallest flicker of hope sparked inside her. She told him everything. The mop, the empty courtroom, the accusation, the watch she never saw, the cruel words, the cuffs. Jordan listened, eyes steady, hands still. When she finished, he leaned back. "They're saying there's security footage," he said slowly. "But I've already checked. The cameras in that courtroom have been down for maintenance all week." He made air quotes. "Funny how they still mentioned footage, though." Maya frowned. "So they lied?" "Not the first time an Ada stretched the truth," Jordan muttered. "There's more. Travis has been flashing that Rolex around for months. Judge warned him about it last week, told him it was unprofessional. Maybe this is his way of making trouble for somebody else instead of facing his own." "Why me?" Maya whispered. He looked at her uniform. "Because you're the easiest person in the room to blame." Silence settled between them. "What happens now?" she asked. "There'll be an arraignment in the morning," he replied. "They'll decide bail. But if Travis pushes felony theft, he's looking at making an example out of you. We have to be ready before they are." "We." She studied him. "What can we do?" "It's his word against mine." Jordan smiled faintly. "You said you've been cleaning that courtroom for 4 years, right?" "Yeah, so you know every inch of it better than any of those suits." He leaned forward. "Tell me everything. Where you started cleaning." Who else was there? What doors were open? What time the judge left? Details can kill a lie. Maya closed her eyes, trying to reconstruct the night. The judge left at 7:15, she said slowly. He always leaves through the side door, the one by the jury room. The clerk, Emily, left right after him. She grabbed a stack of files. Emily Ross, Jordan asked. Yeah. He scribbled something down. Go on. The intern, I don't know her name, picked up some folders and went to the back office. The court reporter stayed a bit longer. I started in the back rows, like I always do, and worked my way forward. I was near the aisle when Travis walked in on a phone call. He put his briefcase on the table, still talking about some deal he'd made. I went to refill my bucket. When I came back, he was yelling at me. You never saw him take off the watch? No, I never saw the watch at all, Jordan nodded slowly. And the cameras? She pictured the small dark domes in the ceilings. There's one over the jury box. One near the entrance. One by the judge's bench. They blink green when they're on. She paused. They weren't blinking, so the cameras really were down, Jordan murmured. But Travis knew they're usually there. That's why he lied so confidently. He's used to the cameras backing him up. He looked at her. This time, they won't. Maya's jaw clenched. So he just gets to accuse me because he's mad his watch is gone? It's not just about the watch, Jordan said, voice low. This is about power. About who the court automatically believes. You know that? Did. Every time she'd watched another black defendant shuffle in, shackles clinking, she'd felt it. The weight of a story already written before the first word was spoken. Jordan closed the folder. I'm not promising you this will be easy, he said. But I am promising you that we're going to make them work for every accusation. No shortcuts. No easy scapegoats. His eyes narrowed. We're going to remind them that justice doesn't come with a dress code. Her throat tightened. Why do you care? He hesitated, then shrugged. Because my mom wore a uniform like that for most of my childhood. People talked down to her in buildings she kept spotless. They never asked if she had dreams. But she did. I'm one of them. Aya's eyes burned. She looked away, blinking fast. What if they still don't believe me? She whispered, what if I end up in the very cell I mop around every night? Then we appeal, he said simply. We push. We fight. That's what lawyers do. He studied her. And from what I see, you already think like one. Her fingers brushed the index card on the floor. Fourth Amendment. Unreasonable searches and seizures. She remembered how Reynolds had cuffed her before asking a single real question. Jordan, she said softly. Yeah. Can they really search me just because he pointed a finger? He tilted his head. That depends. Was there actual probable cause or just prejudice dressed up in a suit? They looked at each other. A spark. In that moment, something inside Maya shifted. The fear stayed. The humiliation still stung. But beneath all of that, a new thought pushed its way through. What if this wasn't just happening to her? What if she wasn't just a victim, but a witness to the truth about how this system worked? And what if she could use that? The next morning, the courtroom looked different. Not to the people filing in, maybe. They saw the same polished wood, the same faded flag, the same seal of the state glaring down. But to Maya, standing in a plain jumpsuit beside Jordan, it was like seeing the skeleton of a beast that had once seemed invincible. She knew which bench had a crack on the third plank, which corner collected dust no matter how much she scrubbed. She knew how the judge's seat was always slightly crooked, like it didn't want to face straight ahead. She also knew something else now. She knew they wanted her to look small. Judge Harmon adjusted his glasses. State versus Maya Carter. Charge, felony theft over $10,000. He glanced up. Ms. Carter, how do you plead? Jordan spoke clearly. Not guilty, Your Honor. Prosecution? The judge said. Travis rose smoothly, every inch the confident, polished prosecutor. Your Honor, the defendant had exclusive access to the courtroom after hours, he said. My client, excuse me. The state has reason to believe she stole a Rolex valued at $18,000 from the prosecution table. We ask for high bail. There is a risk of flight. Maya's mouth opened. Flight. I live 10 minutes away on a bus route. Jordan's hand lightly touched her arm. A signal. Breathe. And what evidence do you have beyond speculation? Jordan asked, his tone polite but sharp. Any actual footage of Ms. Carter taking this watch? Travis stiffened. The cameras were down by coincidence? Jordan pressed. Or convenience? A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Judge Harmon frowned. Counselor Hayes, this is arraignment, not a trial. Understood, Your Honor, Jordan said smoothly. But if the state is asking for high bail, based on nothing but the word of someone whose cameras conveniently went dark, we have a right to question reliability. He gestured toward Maya. Ms. Carter has worked in this building for 4 years. No prior arrests. No disciplinary write-ups. She's a single mother, rooted in this community. We ask for release on her own recognizance. Travis scoffed. Your Honor, this isn't about her being a mother. This is about a thief who watch your language, Mr. Cole, the judge snapped. You'll get to make your case in due time. For now, given the lack of direct evidence and the defendant's ties to the community, bail is set at... He paused. $500. Maya exhaled. She'd been bracing for a number she couldn't reach if she sold everything she owned. Jordan squeezed her arm gently. We can work with that, he whispered. As the gavel came down, something else happened. A phone buzzed in the second row. Then another. Then another. A young woman with a curly puff pulled out her device and frowned at the screen. Isn't that the janitor? She whispered to the person next to her, showing a video. From Twitter? The clip showed Maya being let out in cuffs, mop water spreading on the floor. Someone had filmed it from the hallway window. The caption read, "They arrested the courthouse janitor over a missing watch while the cameras weren't working." This justice system looks real different. From the wrong side of the mop, the video already had thousands of views. By that evening, it had millions. Strangers were asking the same question. She'd asked herself, how does someone cleaning the floors end up the only suspect in a room full of powerful people? Hashtags appeared. Hashtag justice for Maya. Hashtag not your scapegoat. Jordan showed her the screen in a quiet corner. You're going viral, he said. Good and bad. Some of the comments. He shook his head. But a lot of people are on your side. Maya stared at the flooded timeline. People angry. People sharing their own stories. People recognizing themselves in the way she'd been looked at, talked to, cuffed. I didn't want any of this. She murmured, I know, Jordan said. But sometimes the story chooses you. Then what do we do with it? She whispered. He locked eyes with her. We tell the whole truth, he said. Every piece they don't want the world to see. Over the next week, they worked. Maya returned to her tiny apartment, Malik clinging to her like he was afraid she'd disappear. She told him a softer version of the truth, that someone had made a mistake, that she was fighting it, that no matter what, she wasn't leaving him. At night, when he fell asleep, she spread legal pads across the kitchen table. Jordan sat opposite her, laptop open, coffee cooling between them. Think like a camera, he said one night. If the cameras were off, what would they have missed? And what would they still accidentally show? She frowned. What do you mean? Maintenance logs, he said. Requests. Who signed off on them? If someone wanted the cameras off at a very convenient time, that leaves a paper trail. Maya's eyes widened. The maintenance forms are kept in the supply closet on the 3rd floor, she said. I file them sometimes when the supervisor doesn't want to. You have access? I make copies, she said, in case something gets lost. Jordan smiled slowly. Now that's a habit every good lawyer needs. They dug. The form showed that the request to shut down the courtroom cameras had come not from general maintenance, but from the clerk's office, specifically from Emily Ross. Date: 3 days before the theft. Reason: lens upgrade, but there was no record of any vendor coming. Then there were the whispers, a bailiff who'd seen Emily leaving late one night with a man in a hoodie, a clerk who'd noticed Travis slipping out of chambers, watchless, 2 days before the supposed theft. Complaining on the phone about insurance, and Judge is always on my back, was like watching dust appear in a beam of light. The more you looked, the more there was. Maya wrote everything down, times, names, little details everyone else ignored. Why are you taking notes like that? Jordan asked one night, genuinely curious. She shrugged. That's how I study. I break everything down into steps. Like cleaning. You can't scrub a whole floor at once. You hit one stain at a time. He smiled faintly. Remind me not to underestimate you. As the preliminary hearing approached, she felt the nerves tighten again. The courthouse now held posters outside, signs, people she'd never met, chanting her name, holding up slogans. She cleaned your floors, not your crimes. We are not your fall guys. Can't mop away injustice. Inside, Travis walked with his chest a little tighter, his jaw clenched. He didn't look at Maya as they passed in the hallway, but his ears turned pink when someone shouted, "Hey, where's your famous watch, Cole?" Followed by laughter. In the hearing, Jordan called only one witness at first, the building maintenance supervisor. "Mr. Lopez," Jordan said, "can you explain who has the authority to request camera shutdowns in courtroom 6? "Usually just maintenance," Lopez replied. "But sometimes the clerk's office signs off if they want to schedule it around trials." "And who signed the last request?" Jordan asked. Lopez looked at the form. "Emily Ross," he said. "And did your team perform a lens upgrade on those cameras last week?" Lopez shifted. "No, we didn't get any vendors scheduled. And we never got the cameras back online because we were told to leave it until further notice." "By whom?" "Email from the clerk's office," he said. "Forwarded from Mr. Cole." The room went quiet. Travis stiffened. Jordan turned. "Your Honor, in light of this, the defense moves to compel production of all emails related to the camera shutdown, including those sent by the prosecution." Travis shot to his feet. "Objection? On what grounds?" the judge asked. Travis swallowed. "Relevance." The judge frowned. "If the cameras were intentionally disabled just days before a supposed theft, I'd call that very relevant, Mr. Cole." Motion granted. Jordan sat down, his expression calm. But under the table, his leg was bouncing. "Maya could tell, how did you know?" she whispered. He didn't look at her, but a hint of a smile tugged at his mouth. "I didn't," he said. "I just asked the question nobody wanted us to think about." When the emails came, they were worse than expected. Full of frustration from Travis about the judge breathing down his neck for being flashy, his complaints about the watch, comments about, "Maybe I can finally get something back from this place, and if something happened to it, at least insurance would pay." And then, from Emily, "If the cameras are off like you asked, nobody can say what really happened. Just act outraged." Who is really on trial now? At the suppression hearing, Jordan didn't just defend Maya. He put the whole story under a different light. "Your Honor," he said, voice steady, "my client is not on trial because there is proof she stole anything. She's here because she fits a picture in certain people's minds. A picture of who is disposable, who won't be believed, who can quietly take the blame and disappear." He paced slowly. "Ms. Carter has cleaned this courtroom for years. She has listened to lawyers argue over evidence, rights, and fairness while she wiped away their coffee stains. She has seen how quickly people decide who is credible and who is not. And the very night that cameras go dark by request of the people accusing Hershey magically becomes the only suspect." He turned toward Travis. "When a person with power can shut off cameras, write the narrative and point to the nearest black body in a uniform as the villain. The question isn't where is the watch? It's where is the justice?" Maya's eyes stung. Judge Harmon was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "Given the evidence of intentional camera shutdown at the prosecution's request, the inconsistent statements about security footage, and the lack of any direct proof tying Ms. Carter to the alleged theft, this court finds an insufficient probable cause." He looked down at Maya. "Ms. Carter, the charges against you are dismissed." For a moment, it didn't register. Then the words fell into place. Charges dismissed. She heard someone gasp behind her. A cheer quickly shushed by a bailiff. Jordan let out a breath and smiled. Genuinely this time. "You're free," he whispered. Her hands flew to her mouth. Free, but somehow, it didn't feel like victory yet, because Travis was still standing there, because Emily was still at her desk. Because tomorrow, some other black janitor, or cashier, or Uber driver could be standing in the same spot, blamed for someone else's scheme. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. "Maya, how do you feel? Do you think the system is racist? Are you going to sue the city?" Microphones pressed toward her. Cameras flashed. For a second, she wanted to run. She was a woman who blended into the background, not someone used to microphones and attention. Her hands still smelled faintly of bleach. Her shoes were still the same worn pair she used to mop at midnight. But then she caught a glimpse of something over the heads of the crowd. Malik, standing with her sister, watching his mother with wide eyes. What would he remember? That she'd been humiliated? Or that she'd stood up? Maya straightened. "My name is Maya Carter," she said into the microphones. "I clean this building. I studied the law. They practice in it. A week ago, I was accused of a crime with no evidence. Not because they saw me steal anything, but because I was the easiest person in the room to blame." She let the words hang. "How many times has that happened to someone who didn't have a video go viral?" she asked. "How many people are sitting in cells right now because someone important pointed a finger and said, 'It must have been them'?" She felt her voice steady grow. "They thought I would just accept it. Keep my head down. Be grateful if they let me go without too much noise. But I'm done being quiet. I'm going to keep studying. I'm going to become a lawyer. And one day, I'm going to walk back into that courtroom, not with a mop, but with a briefcase. And when I stand next to someone who looks like me, the system is going to have to see them as more than the easiest option to blame." A reporter called out, "Do you have anything you want to say to Ada Cole?" Maya thought of his words. "People like you come in chains, not with keys." She thought of her son. "I don't need to talk to him," she said, because this was never just about him. It's about every person who thinks a uniform or a paycheck tells them who deserves respect. Right. Her eyes shone. Respect doesn't need a title, only truth. Maya expected everything to get better after the case was dismissed. She thought freedom would feel like sunlight, finally breaking through the clouds. But freedom didn't erase whispers, freedom didn't erase stares, and freedom didn't erase the strange feeling that someone was watching her. The day after the court dismissed her charges, she returned to her cleaning shift. Not because she wanted to, but because rent didn't wait for justice. When she walked into the courthouse that night with her uniform on, the building felt different. Not physically. The lights hummed the same. The floors gleamed with the shine she'd given them for years. But the air had changed. People who once ignored her now paused when she passed. Some gave tight nods. Others looked away as if her presence reminded them of something they didn't want to face. She wheeled her mop cart to courtroom 6. The place where everything had fallen apart. Her heart thudded when she reached the door. For a moment she froze. Her hand hovered over the handle. Why was she scared of a room she'd cleaned 1,000 times? She forced her fingers to close around the metal handle and pushed the door open. It was dark, quiet, empty, but not empty enough. Someone was inside. A figure stood near the prosecution table, staring down at the exact spot where the watch had supposedly vanished. A tall silhouette. Sharp shoulders. Maya stiffened. "Jordan." She asked tentatively. The figure turned. Not Jordan. Travis Cole. Her stomach twisted. He stood motionless, suit jacket unbuttoned, tie loose around his neck. He looked exhausted, restless, like he'd been standing in the same spot for hours, replaying the moment everything slipped out of his control. His eyes found her. "Back to work already?" he said, voice low and rough. Nothing like the arrogant tone he'd used before. This one was darker, Maya gripped the mop handle tightly. I have a job. He nodded once, almost distracted. Right, a job? She stepped farther inside, but kept a safe distance. She could smell the faint hint of whiskey on his breath, not enough for him to be drunk. Just enough for him to be honest. You came here. To what? She asked quietly. Relive it. He blinked slowly. To figure out how I let a janitor embarrass me. The words were quiet, but they stung. Maya steadied her voice. I didn't embarrass you. You did that yourself. His jaw tightened. You think you won? I didn't win. I proved I didn't do something I never did. She lifted her chin. That's not winning. That's surviving. Travis stared at her for a long moment. His expression was unreadable. People like you don't survive long in this world, he muttered. Maya's pulse quickened. People like me? He didn't repeat himself. Instead, he walked toward the exit slowly. The weight of something invisible was dragging at his feet. But as he passed her, he stopped at her shoulder. Close enough she could feel the heat of his breath. You think this is over? He whispered. It isn't. Chill slid down her spine. Before she could respond, he walked out, letting the door swing slowly shut behind him. Maya exhaled shakily, her hands trembling around the mop. What did he mean? She tried to calm herself, tried to convince her mind that he was just angry he'd been exposed. But deep down, she felt something colder. A threat, a promise. She finished her shift in silence. Every creak in the building made her twitch. Every shadow felt like it had eyes. At midnight, she walked out to the bus stop. A cool breeze brushed her face as she pulled her jacket tighter. A car engine rumbled nearby. A dark sedan slowed as it passed her, then sped up again. She swallowed hard. Maybe it was nothing, but then her phone buzzed anew. Message. Unknown number. You ruined the wrong person's career. Her stomach dropped. Another message followed seconds later. You think the world cares about your truth? It doesn't. It never did. Her hands shook as she slipped the phone into her pocket. The bus arrived. She practically jumped on board, choosing a seat near the front. Her chest felt tight the whole ride home. Malik was asleep when she arrived, curled on the couch with homework papers scattered around him. She kissed his forehead. Gently, she wanted to be strong for him, always. But as she stood in the dim light of the living room, she realized something terrifying. If Travis wanted to silence her, he could. He'd already proven how fast a lie could spread. She had to protect Malik, protect herself, and the only way to do that was to expose everything. The next morning she called Jordan. He answered on the first ring. Maya, you okay? No, she said, voice cracking. He threatened me last night. Jordan inhaled sharply. Tell me everything. She told him about the courtroom, about the messages, about the sedan. He's not done, she whispered. He's trying to scare me. Then he's panicking, Jordan said. That means we're closer to the truth than he wants us to be. He paused. Maya, there's something I didn't tell you yesterday. Something important. Her heart kicked. What? I dug into the insurance claim he filed for the Rolex, Jordan said. He filed it a week before he accused you. Maya felt her breath leave her body. He planned it, she whispered. Or someone planned it with him, Jordan said. I'm not ruling out Emily Ross either. Maya paced her kitchen floor. So what do we do now? We expose it, he said. All of it. If he threatened you, we use that. We file a harassment report. We send the insurance claim to internal affairs. We push. Maya hesitated. Fear battled with anger inside her chest. What if he retaliates again? She whispered. Jordan's voice softened. Then we don't do it alone. Or strength in the words, a strength she desperately needed. She took a deep breath. Okay. What's the first step? Meet me at my office this afternoon, he said. Bring the messages he sent. I'll print them, document them, and we'll file an official complaint. Her hands trembled. Jordan, thank you. You don't thank me, he said. You fight with me. She closed her eyes. I will. She didn't know yet how deep this fight would go. She didn't know that exposing a corrupt prosecutor, and stepping into a world where truth was just another weapon. And she didn't know that the next 24 hours would reveal a secret more explosive than anything she'd faced so far. That afternoon, Maya walked into Jordan's office building. He was waiting for her in the lobby, holding a folder thick with printed pages. "Is that all about me?" she asked. He shook his head. "This is about them." Her pulse quickened. He led her to a small conference room. Papers covered the table, emails, insurance claims, logs, screenshots. "These," he said, pointing. To a stack are the emails where Travis complains to Emily about being reprimanded for showing off the Rolex. Maya scanned the top page. "Judge is making this a bigger deal than it is. I swear he acts like a watch is a crime." Jordan pointed to another page. "And here, this one's from Emily." Maya read aloud. "Stop wearing it during trials. If something happens to it again, I'm not saving you." She paused. "Again?" she whispered. "What does she mean again?" Jordan's eyes hardened. "That's the part I've been trying to verify, and I think I found the answer." He handed her a piece of paper. "A police report, filed 2 years ago. Stolen property, Rolex. Value, $18,000 owner. Travis Cole, case status, unresolved. His watch went missing before," Jordan said. "Same kind, same value, same story. He claimed theft." Maya stared at the report, her heart pounding. "And nobody solved it?" she asked. "No," Jordan replied. "Because there was never anything to solve. Insurance paid him." Maya felt heat rising in her chest. Anger, disbelief, betrayal. "He did this before," she whispered. "He stole his own watch. Lead collected the payout." Jordan nodded. "And now he tried to do it again, but this time he needed a scapegoat." Maya's throat tightened. You were convenient," he said gently. "You were quiet, visible to them. Easy to blame." Her eyes burned. But then something in her chest changed. The fear curled inward, turned to something sharper. Resolve, she wiped her face. "So we expose him." Jordan nodded. "Yes." Everything, she said. "The claims, the emails, the threats, all of it." Jordan looked at her with something like pride. "I knew you'd say that," he said. "So I already sent the packet to the State Bar and Internal Affairs." Maya gasped. "Jordan?" He held up his hands. "I didn't sign your name. I didn't expose you. But I couldn't sit on this. Not when he threatened you." She sank into a chair, overwhelmed. "What happens now?" she asked. He exhaled. "If they investigate, and they will, Travis could face suspension. Maybe prosecution?" Maya leaned back, letting the truth settle. But then something unexpected happened. Her phone buzzed. A new message from another unknown number. She opened it and froze. "Stop digging if you want to keep your son safe." Her breath caught. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Jordan saw her face. It happened. She handed him the phone with shaking fingers. He read it. His expression changed instantly. "Sharp, cold, protective, Maya," he said slowly. "Pack a bag. You're staying somewhere else tonight." She shook her head, panicked. "No, Malik, what if we won't let anything happen to him?" Jordan grabbed his coat. "But we're not taking chances." Fear wrapped around her chest like a vice. "Jordan, who would send this?" He didn't answer right away. Because the truth was darker than they wanted to admit. It wasn't just Travis anymore. It wasn't just Emily. Someone else was involved. Someone willing to threaten a child. Someone desperate to keep the truth buried. Jordan finally spoke, voice low. "This isn't about a watch anymore," he said. "This is about a cover-up." Maya swallowed hard. "A cover-up of what?" Jordan met her gaze, and the answer made the room feel smaller. "Tens of thousands in fraudulent insurance claims," he said. "Evidence tampering, abuse of power, maybe more. And someone out there thinks you're the biggest threat to exposing it." Maya felt the world tilt. Her voice trembled as she whispered the question burning in her chest. "What do we do now?" Jordan didn't hesitate. "We fight harder." But Maya already knew this was no longer just a fight for her name. This was a fight for every person who'd ever been silenced. Every person who'd ever been blamed because they were the easiest one in the room, and she wasn't backing down. Not now, not ever, even if it meant walking straight into danger. Because sometimes the people who start in the shadows become the ones who drag the truth into the light. Maya didn't sleep. She kept her shoes on, kept the lights low, kept Malik, clothes tucked under her arm as his soft breathing filled the quiet apartment. Every creak made her heart jump. Every passing car made her check the window twice. When morning finally came, she felt wired, exhausted, and ready to break. But she couldn't break, not when her son counted on her, and not when someone had threatened him. Jordan knocked at 7 a.m. She opened the door quietly so Malik wouldn't wake. Jordan's face looked tight, alert, his jaw flexing when he saw the dark circles under her eyes. "You didn't sleep," he said. "No," she whispered. "What? If they're watching?" Jordan stepped inside, checking the hallway before shutting the door. "We're not letting anything happen to you or Malik. I called a friend, a private investigator, ex-detective, good guy. He's waiting in the car." Maya hesitated. "Apai," Jordan nodded. "We need someone who can dig where I can't." Her pulse quickened. "What's he going to do?" Jordan lowered his voice. "Find the person behind the threats. Figure out how deep this corruption goes." Maya swallowed hard. "Jordan, I'm scared." He looked at her then, fully. "You should be. But that fear can't run this. You can." His words steadied her more than she expected. By the time Malik woke up, Maya had packed a bag, clothes, toothbrush, schoolwork, nothing more. She didn't want him worrying, so she told him they were staying at Aunt Side's for a couple days. He didn't ask questions. He just hugged her waist and said, "Okay, Mom," in that trusting tone that made her heart clench. Outside, a silver SUV waited. A tall, broad black man in a gray jacket stood leaning against it. Sharp eyes, calm posture. The type of man who looked like he'd seen trouble and walked straight through it. "Maya," he said, extending a hand. "Name's Carter, Dean Carter." Jordan filled me in. She blinked. "We have the same last name." He cracked a small smile. "Means we're either cousins or destined to deal with the same mess." Jordan rolled his eyes. He jokes. Too much. Dean's smile faded into seriousness as he turned to her. "You got threatened? That means someone thinks you're dangerous?" "People don't threaten janitors unless the janitor saw something she wasn't supposed to." Maya tightened her grip on her bag. "I didn't see anything. Not true," Dean said. "You saw the truth. That's enough." He opened the car door for Malik. "You to ride with me. Jordan will follow." The drive across town was tense. Every car that pulled too close made Maya stiffen. Every red light felt like an eternity. They dropped Malik at her sister's house. Maya hugged him longer than usual. "You okay, Mom?" he asked, pulling back. "I'm good, baby," she said softly. "I'm always good when I have you." He nodded, trusting her completely. "When?" They pulled away from the house. Dean glanced at her through the rearview mirror. "You're thinking about that message," he said. "Good. Don't forget it. Fear keeps you alert. But we're going to turn it into strategy." "Strategy," she whispered. "Everything's chess," Dean answered. "You got attacked because you moved a piece they didn't expect. Now they're scrambling. That's when powerful people make mistakes." Jordan leaned forward in his seat. "Dean pulled something from the courthouse database this morning." Maya's heart skipped. "What?" Dean handed her a printed document. "This is a list of all employees with access to the camera system." She scanned the names. Emily Ross, maintenance, staff, judge's clerk. Then her eyes caught a name she didn't expect. Travis Cole. Why would he have access? She whispered. Dean nodded. Exactly the question. Prosecutors don't normally have camera override permissions. But his file shows he got it 3 months ago. Quietly. No official justification. Maya felt cold. Why? Jordan sighed. Because someone signed the authorization for him. Maya flipped the page. Her stomach dropped. The signature wasn't Emily's. It wasn't the judge's. It wasn't maintenance. It was the court administrator. A man who had been there for 20 years. A man trusted by everyone, Lewis Grant, she whispered. Dean nodded. He's the one who approved every camera shutdown in the last year. There have been 6. 6. Maya echoed. Jordan's jaw tightened. Dean cross-referenced them. 4 of those shutdowns lined up with cases where evidence went missing or suspects were pressured into plea deals. Maya stared at the page, stunned. So, they've been doing this a long time. Jordan nodded. Longer than you think. Ah. Maya felt her pulse pounding in her neck. And Travis is part of it? Dean's voice was low, like he's the rook. Someone else is the king. She closed her eyes. This is bigger than I thought, she whispered. Yes, Dean said. Which means you need protection, and we need proof. Maya opened her eyes. Kind of proof. Passed her a list. Camera logs, access times, every override, every shutdown, every manual reset. All this shows patterns, Dean said. But patterns aren't enough. We need something concrete, something that ties them directly to illegal activity. So, what do? Dean and Jordan exchanged a glance. Jordan spoke first. We searched the courthouse. Maya's chest tightened. Search how? I don't have access to anything except cleaning supplies. Dean leaned back. You've been in rooms no one else pays attention to. Storage closets, back hallways, staff areas. You know this building better than the people running it. She blinked. You think there's evidence inside the courthouse? Dean nodded. People who get comfortable committing crimes stop hiding them well. Jordan pointed at her notes. Remember you said Emily took files to the back office the night of the accusation? Yes. And remember how she told the intern to lock the door behind her? Yes. Jordan leaned forward. Dean checked. That office has a second storage cabinet. Locked. Only senior staff have keys, Dean added. And guess what? It's not on any inventory list, which means it's either empty or full of things nobody wants found. Maya's heart raced. You want me to get inside? Dean didn't sugarcoat it. You're the only one who can. She stared at him, stunned. Dean, if someone catches me, they'll arrest me again. Jordan shook his head. Not this time. There's evidence. In that office? Real evidence of corruption? We blow this entire thing open. They won't touch you. She felt the weight of their words pressing in. I don't want to be a hero, she whispered. I want to keep my son safe. Dean's voice softened for the first time. Heroes don't choose the fight chooses them. Her chest ached. She looked out the window, watching the world blur by. Finally she nodded. Tell me what to do. That night Maya went back to work. She walked into the courthouse with her mop cart, heart pounding so hard she felt it in her throat. Every step echoed. Every shadow felt alive. Jordan waited in his car around the corner. Dean watched from the alley entrance with binoculars, monitoring every door and exit. All she had to do was get inside the back office. It sounded simple. It wasn't. As she made her rounds through the hallways, normal staff passed by without suspicion. To them, she was just the janitor again, invisible. But invisibility could be a weapon. She found the hallway, leading to the clerk's back office. The door was locked. Inside was the cabinet. Inside the cabinet was the truth. She pulled out her keys, old, rusty, familiar. None of them matched the lock. She checked the time. Midnight Dan whispered through the small earpiece in her ear. Door clear? Yes, she whispered. Check the top of the door frame, Dean said. Sometimes old buildings hide spares. She raised her hand, feeling along the top. Dust, then metal. Her breath caught. A key. She slid it into the lock. It turned. She pushed the door open slowly, her heart racing. Inside, the room was dim, filled with filing cabinets, boxes, binders. But the cabinet in the back, the second one, was different. Newer, stronger. It had a heavy lock and a metal frame. Found it, she whispered. Good, Dean said. Check for hidden compartments, false bottoms, anything that looks out of place. She crouched, opened the lower drawer, empty, then tapped the bottom. It sounded wrong, hollow. Her pulse shot up. She lifted the panel gently. Inside were 3 manila envelopes. Thick, labeled Cole. Incident reports Ross. Camera logs, grant restricted files. Her hands shook as she pulled one open. Inside were photographs, stacks of evidence, documents, signed confessions, altered timestamps, deleted footage reports. Her stomach dropped. "This is everything," she whispered. "Covered up cases, destroyed evidence, framed people. It's not just me." Dean's voice was sharp. "Grab everything and get out." Now, she stuffed the envelopes into her cleaning bag. But before she could, a voice cut through the darkness. "What do you think you're doing?" Maya froze. Emily Ross stood in the doorway, her eyes cold, her hand gripping a stun gun. Maya's breath hitched. "Emily," she whispered. "It wasn't supposed to go this far." Emily stepped inside slowly, shutting the door behind her. "Oh, Maya," she said softly. "It went too far the moment you didn't stay quiet." Maya's heart pounded so hard, she thought she might faint. Emily raised the stun gun, and Maya realized she wasn't getting out without a fight. Emily moved closer, the stun gun humming with a low, cruel buzz. Maya backed up until the cabinet pressed against her spine. Her palms were sweating, but her mind was finally clear. "Emily, think about what you're doing," Maya said softly. "You don't have to protect him, or Grant, or anyone else." Emily laughed, not loud, not hysterical, just bitter. "You think this is about protecting them?" she whispered. "This is about protecting myself. You don't know what these men can do. You don't know what I've already seen." Maya steadied her breathing. "Then help me stop them." Emily shook her head sharply. "You still don't get it. You were supposed to be quiet. Clean the floors, take the blame, move on. But you had to push. Now everything we built, everything they promised us, it's all falling apart because of you." Maya's fingers tightened around her cleaning bag. She could feel the edges of the envelopes inside. "You don't have to be part of them anymore," Maya whispered. "You can walk away." Emily stepped even closer. "There is no walking away." Maya's pulse raced. She saw Emily's finger tighten on the trigger. Then a loud crash echoed from the hallway. Emily jerked toward the sound instinctively. That single second was all Maya needed. She swung the heavy cleaning bag with everything she had, slammed into Emily's arm, knocking the stun gun out of her hand. Emily gasped and stumbled backward. Maya didn't wait. She bolted for the door, grabbing the stun gun off the floor as she ran. Emily lunged after her. Maya flung the door open and ran straight into Dean. He rushed past her in one smooth motion, tackling Emily to the ground before she could reach the weapon again. The stun gun skidded across the floor. Jordan appeared behind him, breathless. "You've got the files?" he asked. Maya nodded, shaking. "All of them." Dean cuffed Emily with zip ties he'd pulled from his jacket. "She's done." Emily glared up at them, her face twisted with anger and fear. "You don't understand. You're messing with people who don't lose. You think he's the only one? You think Travis is the worst of it?" Dean tightened the zip ties. "If there's more, we'll find them. But first, you're going to answer for what you've already done." Emily spat on the floor. "You're all dead." Dean pressed a knee to her back. "Not tonight." Maya took a step back, her chest heaving. She expected to feel triumphant. She didn't. She felt like she'd just stepped into a truth she could never unsee again. Jordan touched her arm gently. "Come on, let's get these files out of here." They guided her out of the office, down the hallway, and into the cool night air behind the courthouse. Dean kept Emily pinned until 2 police cruisers arrived, officers Jordan trusted, officers from outside the courthouse. They arrested her on the spot. Maya watched as they put Emily in the back seat. Emily's eyes met hers one last time, not with hatred, but with something like despair. Then the door shut, and she was gone. Jordan exhaled shakily. "You okay?" "No," Maya whispered honestly. "But I'm standing." Dean nodded in approval. "Good. You're going to need that. What happens now?" she asked. Jordan lifted the envelopes she'd retrieved. "Everything changes." It did. The investigation hit the state like a storm. Internal Affairs raided the courthouse. All camera logs, computer access files, and maintenance requests were seized. State authorities swarmed into offices that once operated unchecked. By the next week, Travis Cole was suspended. Lewis Grant was under criminal investigation. 2 clerks resigned suddenly. 3 old cases were reopened. And a judge ordered a full audit of courthouse procedures. Maya watched it all unfold on the news. Her name appeared in headlines again. But this time, the story wasn't about a janitor accused of theft. It was about a woman who exposed a ring of corruption, a woman they tried to silence, a woman who refused to stay quiet. Reporters gathered outside her building. People sent letters. Strangers donated to a GoFundMe page started by Jordan's office to support her legal studies. Someone from a local law school reached out, offering a scholarship interview. It was overwhelming. It was terrifying. It was surreal, but it was real. One evening, Jordan visited her apartment. Malik sat at the table working on homework while Maya stood at the sink washing dishes. "You're famous," Jordan teased gently. "I don't want to be famous," she said. "I want normal." He leaned against the counter. "Normal's gone, but something better might be coming." She raised an eyebrow. "Better." He held out a brown envelope. She frowned and wiped her hands on her pants before taking it. Inside was a letter, her breath caught. A law foundation. Grant BHR, full coverage for LSAT prep courses. Interview. For financial assistance for law school? Recommendation. From Jordan, already attached, she looked up, stunned. "Jordan, when did you do this?" "I didn't," he said with a smile. "They reached out to me. They said your courage showed the kind of integrity the legal system needs." Her throat tightened. "But I haven't done anything yet." He shook his head. "Maya, you did everything." She blinked back tears. "I was just trying to survive." "Sometimes surviving is the bravest thing you can do," he said gently. Malik looked up from the table. "Mom, what's that?" Maya wiped her eyes and smiled. "Something that might change our future." Malik grinned. "Like superhero stuff." She laughed softly. "Something like that." Later that night, after Jordan left, Maya stood on her small balcony overlooking the street. Cars passed below. A breeze moved through the trees. She thought of the courtroom, the mop bucket tipping over, the cuffs, the humiliation, the threats, the lies, the people who tried to bury her. She thought of Emily's last words, "You're messing with people who don't lose." But she had learned something powerful. People like that don't lose because no one ever stands up to them until someone does. And once one person stands, others follow. Her phone buzzed. A message from Anne. Unknown number. She froze for half a second. Then opened it. It wasn't a threat this time. It was a videoed out of a young black man in prison, blues crying as investigators reopened his old case, a case tied to the camera shutdown. Logs. The caption read, "Because of you. He's getting a second chance." Maya pressed a hand over her mouth. The truth hit her harder than anything else had. She hadn't just saved herself. She'd saved people she'd never met, people who might finally get justice. She went inside, kissed Malik on the forehead, and sat at the table with her LSAT study card, the same one Reynolds once mocked her for. She picked up her pen and wrote a new note at the bottom. "You belong in the courtroom." Her eyes burned, but she smiled because she finally believed it. She whispered into the quiet room, not for anyone else to hear, but for herself. Respect doesn't need a title, only truth.